Use
Yeah,
that.
see, the only thing I have of that letter that the Tiger wrote me is a copy.
Interesting. Because you sent the original somewhere.
I said, yeah, I did. Making money or anything like that off of having anybody here in school never even entered my mind.
Sure, of course.
I didn't think of stuff like that. Turned out after it was all said and done, I mean, I had guys call me from all over the United States,
Oh.
a shirt, or can you get me 20 scorecards at Augusta National? I mean, all this kind of
Sure.
stuff. So I sent the letter off because the boys were all going to be in a big a video that was going to be nationally shown. So I sent the letter off. And about 2 or 3 weeks later, I called the guy that I sent it to. I said, "Did you get that letter?" He said, "No, I never got it." Well, okay, but luckily I got a copy of it. So the original was, it's out there somewhere.
Oh, interesting. Show up on eBay someday.
Well,
What were your,
I can't show up anybody because it's stolen. We turned it in to the
I
police
see.
here as stolen
Okay,
property.
stolen property.
Yeah. Right.
What were your interactions with Tiger's father, with Earl? What
Great.
sort of?
I mean, I
You
really
and his
liked
girlfriend.
Earl Woods, and I really respected him, and I think we had a little niche together because I'd been in the service myself. So that seemed to be a little bit of a glue there. But I respected him. I respected the way he and Tito raised Tiger and everything they did.
Absolutely.
And one time I asked Earl, how come you're always at these junior tournaments? Why don't you let Tiger travel by himself? And Earl says, Coach, I lost a couple of kids to drugs, and it's not going to happen with Tiger.
Mm.
And so, I think the only thing that ever came up that was even partially controversial, and I didn't have anything to do with it, but when Tiger went out of here one day to go up and have lunch with Arnie in Napa.
Remember that.
And Arnie wanted lunch, and I found out about it through the grapevine, and I had to turn this in because it was a breach of NCAA rules, and so I turned this into our compliance officer here. They checked with the NCAA. The NCAA finally called back and said, "Well, be fine with us. Just make sure that before Tiger does anything more, practice or anything, he has sent Arnie a check for I think it was $19.95 or something like that."
Which of your players improved the most over their
Conrad
years here?
Ray. Not even close.
Interesting. And tell us how you came about recruiting Conrad.
Well, I get this letter from this all-state football nose tackle who got himself into Stanford. Okay, he shows up, and he's even bigger than his description of it had been before that. He shows up with a set of golf clubs, and we go down to the range, and he has got the stike hooks. I mean, big time. But there was this thing about him. He came out here on his visit. It's kind of a funny story. Nice story about a great guy. He comes out on his visit, and so I arranged for a team practice on that Saturday morning so they can all meet him.
Mm-hmm.
And we go down to the range. We're just kind of standing around. Conrad shows up. I introduce him. There were 8 or 10 guys or something like that. And we're talking about whatever we were talking about. And pretty soon I look, hey, where's Conrad? Conrad has left the group, and he's walking up the commercial range saying good morning to people. And I thought, that's my guy right there.
There you go.
That sold me right there. And, he was the most persistent, way 10 times more than anybody else.
Mm.
Coach, can you come down the range for 15 minutes?
Mm.
Conrad, I'm busier than hell. You can't do that. He said, Coach, please. Conrad, I'll come down, but you got to understand, we're going to whip through this thing, and 2 hours later, I'm finally making my way back up here. And this went on and on and on, and I mean, it was, he developed himself into a fine player.
Yes, he did.
With hands like sheepskin. I mean, great hand for a great big former horseshoer type guy.
And hockey player.
And hockey player. And he made himself into a great player.
Does it surprise you that he's followed you and become a National Coach of the Year?
I think it's fabulous. I couldn't hope for anything more than that. I mean, for a guy to, in my business, to have two of his former players both out coaching,
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Wonderful.
shows you what kind of guys they were.
Absolutely.
Not the average, in any way, the average run-of-the-mill golf player type guy.
You're talking about Casey as well.
Casey Martin.
Yeah.
So it's two guys very much alike. I mean, both with a little bit different personalities, but both gentle people,
Mm-hmm.
and not killers in any way. Communicators, both in their own ways. Great leadership qualities. Two great guys for kids to go to college and learn something about life from, not just
Mhm.
hitting a golf ball or playing on a competitive team, but get all the other stuff too.
Who was the funniest player you coached
The funniest player,
at Stanford? Can you remember somebody who stands out, or
as being funny,
did you have a bunch of
Humorous,
them?
good sense of humor.
Yeah, that's,
or
uh,
did droll things.
I mean, we did a lot of droll things.
It'd be hard to top you, though, Wally.
No, they were the funniest player. I don't know that. No, we didn't have a comedian.
Jake Poe.
Excuse me?
Jake Poe.
Oh, Jake Poe. Yeah, and Jake Poe. His father Jake Poe is close. Jake Poe, his father was a great friend and coach at Missouri. And Jake was a comedian.
He was maybe funny to us, but drove you crazy, Coach. One of the two.
Well, no, it was not quite that. Yeah, that was a good selection there, Conrad. It was just the team had that get along ability, and I don't remember any jealousies. I mean, I was not aware of it. Nobody ever came to speak to me. We did have an understanding that if I could bark at them occasionally, they could let me know how they felt about things. They had to be one-on-one. I didn't want 10 guys walking through the door. Okay? And it was hardly, maybe once or twice in the 13 years here. But if they came in, they had to have a suggestion for improvement. And I said, no, if I don't want to make a mistake. It's your team, it's not mine. So if I make a mistake, let me know, and we'll change it. So that happened a couple times, but basically they got the picture. And
Well, certainly one of your greatest players was Joel Kreibel,
unbelievable. Joel, the cowboy,
4-time All-American.
4-time, one of two, right?
Who was the other?
I think he's the only one.
I think
Only
he,
4-time?
I think he may have been. And now Rob Grooby will.
Groovy's close.
Yeah.
Groovy's had a chance. He's got a chance, but
Oh gosh, if I could remember, you could pull this one up, but it wasn't. I don't think it was even Tommy Watson. It was somebody came up with the name. I'd say, yeah, that's the name. But
Doug Clark.
What?
Is it Doug Clark?
No.
I think he's the only one. I can look at that and check. But
Look at that. There's a guy back there, and the plaques are all gone. You have to remember those. But Joel was what a great guy, and a great family.
Mhm.
So supportive. Never inquired about stuff, what was going on. Joel probably, if he had a little bit of a downfall, it was he concentrated so hard, too hard.
Hmm.
And I think my job was sort of trying to get him to ease up a bit.
Mhm.
He was so exhausted after a round of golf, mental, and he was just dead, totally exhausted. But God bless him. I mean, his mind was on his business, but it was almost too much. And he could laugh along.